recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon thereafter, their cases were formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General of Fulton County. So this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. When I call your case, I will let you know what is your accusation number, what are the charges brought against you, to appoint counsel to represent you if required, and also to set a bond if one has not been previously set. Please remember that you have, if you are charged with one or more misdemeanor offenses, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say about the facts or circumstances of your case during the course of this virtual proceeding that is not only recorded but live streamed, your testimony can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Some of you, in terms of bond, based upon the information I received from at today's hearings, I will set a bond. Some of you may qualify for what we call a signature bond, and that would be a bond in which you would not have to pay, but you can be issued a bond either through pretrial services or through the jail. In those particular cases, you can keep your signature bond as long as you comply with the conditions. Failure to comply can result in your bond being revoked and converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond. If you qualify for a surety bond, that's the type of bond in which you would have to pay in order to secure your release. Payment would have to be made either through a bonding company or out of your own pocket. Who do we have? Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. We have Lee Shanda, position number 3.
3? Okay, thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, Mr. Cook?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to check. I have a client who's going to need a Russian interpreter, so we'll need a breakout. I just wanted to check on the status of that interpreter in case, so we can go ahead and do the interview as quickly as possible.
Well, let me see. Is there a interpreter for the Russian language on Zoom?
Not at this point, Judge. We're still trying to verify we got one, so.
Okay, thank you.
Working on it.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
All right. We have LaShonda Kines Dubois, case number 24CR1221G. Ms. Dubois is charged with the following offenses: simple battery and public drunk from March 14th, 2024. Ms. Dubois, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard? Oh, Ms. Washington? No. Good afternoon.
Yes, Yes, Your Honor. 38 arrest cycles beginning in 94. There's a 2023 misdemeanor conviction for theft by deception, a 2022 misdemeanor conviction for theft by shoplifting, a 2017 misdemeanor conviction for disorderly conduct, a 2017 misdemeanor conviction for driving with license suspended.
Any FTAs on her record?
Bear with me one moment. I'll have to look that up.
I'm showing 3, Your Honor. 2019. I'm sorry, I'm struggling with my voice. 2019, 2021, and 2022 for FTAs.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Washington. Mr. Walker, what's the state's recommendation?
So in this case, law enforcement was dispatched to 2420 Piedmont Road, which is the Lindbergh MARTA station. They met with the victim's mother, Miss Sahara Walker. She advised that she was at the train station with her 2-year-old daughter, who I identify as juvenile CF. For whatever reason, this grown defendant was picking with this 2-year-old child. The mother tried to intervene and asked the defendant to step away from her and her child. At that time, the defendant did smack the 2-year-old on her buttocks. She tried to escape on a MARTA bus, but she was apprehended by MARTA PD. At the time of her arrest, she had a strong odor of alcohol on her person and her speech was slurred. To the 1 count of simple battery, the state is asking for a $2,500 surety bond. To the count of public drunk, that's for a $1,000 surety bond. Asking for no contact with the victim's mother, Miss Sahara Walker. No contact with the juvenile CF. Stay away from all MARTA. We are also asking for an ADET along with the conditions of no weapon, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, we do not have any objection to stay away and no further contact. However, my client, cannot afford that much money right now for the bond. And besides, she has a hold at Franklin County, so she's not going anywhere except Franklin County. So we would like to request for, signature bond through a pretrial level 3, as she is recommended. So she is working together with her boyfriend to fix houses. So that's what she's doing. She's self-employed and yeah, she is not making a lot of money because of her arthritis. She has a severe knee pain. So it kind of like hinders her to do any kind of labor work that she's been doing. So we would like to request for signature on bond through pretrial.
And is Oakley Lane, okay, first of all, with Miss Leona Johnson and Latoya Cartagena, could you please stop your video until your particular case is called? It's very distracting. But in the meantime, on Miss Dubois, on the simple battery is 2,000, on the public drunk is 500. And I wanted to confirm whether the Oakley Lane is her current address.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she lives there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. Her total bond is 2,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. She'll report to pretrial twice a month. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, and no weapons and no firearms. And she'll be subject to random screens for alcohol and drugs. If she fails an alcohol screen or if she fails a drug screen, her signature bond will be revoked and she'll be back in jail on a cash bond or a surety bond. She's to stay away from all model property, and I mean every single one, trains and buses. She's not allowed on a train, on a bus, in their sidewalks, parking lots, or any of their stations and facilities. If she gets arrested again, this 2,500 signature bond will be converted to a surety bond or a cash bond only. Miss Washington, or Mr. Walker, her Franklin County hold, is that a misdemeanor or felony matter or traffic matter?
I'll defer to pretrial.
It just mentioned that it was a probation violation. I didn't see specifically what for, but
Okay,
it was from May of 2023.
okay. So it looks like they may have to come and pick her up. So once is interviewed by pretrial, she needs to be held until Franklin County comes and picks her up, after which then she will start reporting to pretrial in person twice a month. Next court date will be sent to her South Oakley Lane address.
Position number 5.
Malaysia Gardner is accused of theft by conversion from January 7, 2024, case number 24 CR 1223F. Ms. Gardner, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor, there was no record on file, and we do recommend level 1.
All right. Mr. Grant?
Thank you, Your Honor. So this was a series of incidents starting in January 7, 2024 through March 14th. And on that date, law enforcement was dispatched to the Home Depot at 3885 Jonesboro Road, Southeast in Atlanta, in response to a larceny call. Upon arrival, they spoke with the store's manager, who stated Malaysia Gardner, who was an employee, had been taking cash from the cash registers. He provided documents showing the amount of money taken and on what dates, and video footage of each of the instances where Ms. Gardner had taken money from the register. As I mentioned, starting from January 7th through March 14th of this year, she had taken a total of $550. The state is recommending, Your Honor, a signature bond through pretrial services. My apologies. Stay away from all Home Depot premises and property, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Ms. Kim, it's going to be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial services. to stay away from all Home Depot stores, including the one on Jonesboro Road. No illegal drugs, no weapons and firearms, and she must maintain a current mailing address with the court at all times. She may report to pretrial via email until further order of the court.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, what level was that?
Level 1, please.
Position 12.
This is State versus Alyssa Mewborn. Is that correct? Mewborn with an M?
Yeah.
Okay. Case number 24 CR 1213C. Ms. Mewborn has been arrested and charged with 5 misdemeanor offenses stemming from a traffic incident on January 6, 2020. And they include operating a vehicle with no or defective headlights, that's 2 counts. Knowingly driving a vehicle on a suspended registration, driving while license suspended or revoked, and escape from custody or confinement. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
One prior arrest cycle, which was the defendant's last arrest, that was in July of 2020 out of Cobb County for possession of a Schedule 1 or 2 controlled substance and purchase or sale of marijuana. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 1.
Okay. Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident took place January 6, 2024. Atlanta Police was patrolling the area around Campbellton Road Southwest in Atlanta. Officer observed a black Ford Fusion being operated with a defective headlight, a defective tail light, and no license plate. A traffic stop was conducted. Alyssa Mewborn did produce her driver's license. Driver's license came back as suspended for an FTA, and the vehicle registration was also suspended. After being handcuffed and placed in the patrol vehicle, Ms. Mewborn uncuffed herself, opened the door, and fled on foot. Your Honor, the state is recommending, just because of the chain of events in this incident, a $1,500 surety bond, no driving, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
All right. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your
Seems
Honor.
to be the suspend or revoke license of the escape. What's your recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. We would like to request for a signature on bond through pretrial, as she is recommended by pretrial service. She's only 21 years old. She was born and raised here in Georgia. She had a job, but right now she does not have a job. So her grandfather has to pay for the bond, and he retired. He has a lot of medical issues. It's gonna be hard to come up with the money financially. We would like to request for a signature on bond. This is, previous charge was not related to driving, and if she has to have at least limited driving permit, because I believe that she has her license reinstated, and other stuff, she can fix it and she can move forward, Your Honor.
On counts 1 through 4 is $250. On count 5 is $1,000. Her total bond is $2,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. No driving unless she has a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. She may report to pretrial by email. If she doesn't report, or she gets arrested again for anything else, or if she's caught driving without any of the requirements, that $2,000 signature bond will be converted to a cash or surety bond. Next court date will be sent to her current mailing address, and I don't know what that is. But as long as she maintains a current address with us, she should be fine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank.
Position 1, Mr. Daniel.
Mr. Joseph Daniels is accused of willful obstruction of an officer and driving while license suspended or revoked from March 14th, 2024. Case number is 24CR 1219D. Mr. Daniels, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. Cook. Ms. Washington?
There are 7 arrest cycles beginning in 2013. There's a 2017 misdemeanor conviction for simple battery and battery in Fulton County. I do have that case number if you need it. There is a 2014 misdemeanor conviction for carrying a weapon without a valid license. The last arrest was in June of 2017 for driving while license is suspended. It appears that the defendant does have a hold from Jonesboro, and that's from November 18th of 2020 for dangerous drugs. The defendant is recommended for level 1, and there is 1 FTA in 2017.
All right, thank you. Mr. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, law enforcement drove past the defendant going westbound on Clear Drive. This defendant caught the attention of law enforcement due to the loud odor of marijuana coming from his vehicle. They initiated a traffic stop. They asked the defendant for his license. He refused. He asked to speak to a supervisor. Supervisor was dispatched to the scene. He still refused to give his license. At that time, the vehicle was searched and his license was located. It was determined that his license had been suspended. The state is asking for a $1,500 surety bond on the driving on a suspended license, a $500 surety bond on the obstruction. Obviously, no driving without a valid license, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond.
Okay. I understand he does have a current felony matter as well. Would that be
Yes,
correct?
he has some type of hold out of Clinton County, Your Honor. That's correct.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if pretrial mentioned it, but there was a 2017 no license or suspended license
There
conviction.
it was. Maybe I just pulled up the wrong one. Sorry. Okay, Mr. Cook, yes, sir.
Yes, I believe the last, I'm not sure what's going on in Clayton County. I believe the last thing pretrial mentioned was about 7 years ago.
Mhm.
I know we don't argue the facts too much in this case. Dubious stop. Someone smelled marijuana in a car some distance from my client's car. But that being so, I would ask the court to accept the pretrial recommendation of a signature only bond through pretrial. Can I put you on the phone? Level 1.
All right. On the willful obstruction, that's going to be 500. On the driving while license suspended or revoked, that's going to be 500. His total bond is $1,000 surety bond. And once he makes bond, he can only be released to Clayton County. He cannot be released on his own recognizance. He's got a Clayton County hold. Not certain what's the outstanding charge. No driving unless he has a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration on his person at all times. Thank you. Our next court date is it March 28th, Ms. Champion?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you.
Number 4,
Maxwell Friedman is accused of driving hit and run, no insurance, and improper erratic lane change from December 13th, 2023. Mr. Friedman, your case number is 24CR 1222Y. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, 11 arrest cycles beginning in 2013. There's a 2023 arrest for a hit and run, a DUI, possession of cocaine, and possession of a Schedule 1 controlled substance. And that was in Cobb County. It did appear that arrest was null price. There's also a 2013 felony conviction for reckless driving, which was reduced from a DUI in Milton. The last arrest was December 13th of 2023 for a DUI and possession of a controlled substance, and that was in Cherokee County. The defendant meets the criteria for level 3, nothing further.
Okay. Mr. Grant?
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident took place December 13th, 2023, right around Northside Drive and Belmead Avenue in Atlanta. Maxwell Freeman was traveling north on Northside Drive in a 2009 Ford Explorer, approaching Belmead Avenue when he crossed over the lane marker, struck the vehicle on his right, which was operated by Logan Mahone, Mahone. Both vehicles sustained visible damage from the collision. Mr. Friedman, however, did not stop after the collision to check on the victim, exchange info, or call the police. Instead, he got onto I-75 and accelerated to speeds over 100 miles per hour. He continued north on I-75 until he was stopped for reckless driving and DUI. Additionally, the vehicle was found not to be insured. The tag was caught on the license plate readers at the time of the accident, and the vehicle was later pulled over. And Your Honor, based on this, the driving history and the several driving infractions, the state is recommending a $2,000 surety bond on the hit and run and $500 surety on the remaining 2 counts. No driving, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
So he was not stopped by the police?
According to the warrant, he was stopped by the police. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, he was stopped for reckless driving and DUI on I-75.
Was he arrested?
I can check for you real quick, Your Honor. 1 second.
I'm trying to figure out why we're adding these charges from an incident from a arrest back in December 13th. And he was booked in, no, I don't see a 23 arrest. This is kind of bizarre. I had a question about it. So the alleged incident occurred on December 13th. According to the warrant, he was pulled over. And you're telling me that he was charged with DUI and reckless driving. Looks like he was at the Cherokee County Jail. Did he have something pending at that time? Question.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm just trying to pull up the.
Your Honor, on the GCIC, I don't know if this is helpful, but on the GCIC, it shows on December 13th of 2023 that there was a DUI arrest for Cherokee County. So that was a DUI and a possession
Okay.
charge.
So that makes sense. So he was pulled over by, according to the warrant, on I-75 in Cherokee County, arrested and booked at the Cherokee County Jail for DUI and reckless driving. I guess subsequently released, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, Sergeant Wright with APD applied for the warrant for these additional charges for the hit and run that allegedly occurred in Fulton County.
Yes.
The car sped off to Cherokee County.
Yes, Your Honor. That appears to be correct.
Okay, and what's again your recommendation?
Recommendation from the state on the charge of hit and run charge, $2,000 surety bond, $500 surety on the no insurance, and a $500 surety bond on the improper lane change.
Okay. Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, my client came here to Fulton from Cherokee County, where he was, he tells me he was released to a drug and alcohol treatment center at Timothy House in Jasper, Georgia. That was his sentence in Cherokee County. But of course, he hasn't gotten to Timothy House because I assumed there was some kind of hole here and they brought him here. I do know that he needs to get, to be honest, I was not able to reach anyone at Timothy House this afternoon. I made several attempts, but it's my understanding that they are awaiting his arrival and he needs to get there by Monday. The warrant is still a bit confusing to me. Perhaps we pieced it together correctly or not. I'm not real sure what happened there. But I know
That's the only plausible explanation I have. I don't know whether he was released from Cherokee County and then adjudicated in Cherokee County, or whether he's been in custody at Cherokee County to the point that he took a plea. I mean, there's so many possibilities.
Well,
But
that's his position, that he took a plea in Cherokee County, was going to, and part of the plea was to do time at the, for lack of a better word, at Timothy House, drug and alcohol treatment in Jasper, and at the point he was supposed to be released, then there was apparently a hold in Fulton, and they brought him down here.
All right, understood. And what's your recommendation, Mr. Cook? To a signature bond with the release to Timothy House?
That would be the best and quickest approach, to let him get in drug and alcohol treatment, which he believes he needs.
On the hit and run is $1,000 surety. The no insurance and the driving improper lane change is $500 each, and that's a signature bond through the jail. This is a $2,000 split bond. Once he makes the $1,000 portion of the bond, he's not allowed to drive at all until further order of the court. He may, upon bond, he shall be released to the Timothy House, so someone needs to come pick him up. Either Cherokee County Jail or whoever is at Timothy House. Is this an inpatient program?
Yes, it is.
All right, so somebody needs to come pick him up so that he can start his treatment. Then after that, he needs to maintain a current address with the court at all times. No alcohol, no drugs, no weapons and firearms, and definitely no driving until further order of the court.
We may have to work through some intermediary, perhaps Cherokee. I know Timothy won't come this far south to pick him up, so perhaps Cherokee can work.
Okay, his next court date is March 28th.
Cherokee online.
Position 6.
Ethan Silas Gordon is charged with battery, family violence from February 20th, 2024. The accusation is 24 CR 1224G. Mr. Gordon, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. There are 2 prior arrest cycles beginning in 2022. There was a armed robbery, possession of firearm, and theft by receiving stolen property, and that was out of Cobb County. It did appear that that case was dismissed. The last arrest was February 17th, 2024 for driving while license suspended. It does appear that that case mentioned earlier is still open. I'm sorry. And the defendant does meet the criteria for level 2.
Level 2? Okay, thank
Yes.
you. Mr. Grant?
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident took place February 20th, 2024. Law enforcement responded to a domestic dispute at 2479 Abner Terrace, Northwest Atlanta. Upon arrival, the officer met with Nakayla, Nakayla Hammonds, who stated that Keaton Gordon, the father of her child, also lives at the location, assaulted her. The two had gotten into a dispute, a verbal dispute that became physical when Mr. Gordon jumped on her, placing her into a headlock. She received a visible scratch across the forehead caused by Mr. Gordon's watch in the process. When Mr. Gordon walked out of the apartment, she ended up locking the door behind him. He damaged the door while kicking it before fleeing. Our office has been in touch with Ms. Hammonds. She informed us that they are no longer in a relationship. They no longer live together, and they also do share one child. She confirmed that Mr. Gordon hit her, but she's unclear whether or not she was being choked. That it was hard for her to explain the feeling, that it never happened before. She and Mr. Gordon have been in contact since the incident. There's been no violence. She stated that she is not in fear of the defendant. She doesn't want to continue contact, and she's okay with him returning to the residence. And Your Honor, if we can talk from Michaela Hammonds at the conclusion of the presentation, based on the facts in the warrant, the state is requesting a $1,000 surety bond, stay away still from 2479 Abner Terrace Northwest, no further contact with Michaela Hammonds, and no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Thank you. Michaela Hammonds, if you are present, please unmute and start your video if you want to add to the proceedings.
Okay. What is?
You need to start your video.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you have something to add?
Yes, I didn't.
Oh, hang on. Number one. All right. Can you please raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a room with better lighting? Because I can barely see you.
I could turn on the light.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Or just face a window. Natural light works too. That's perfect. Okay.
Like this.
Perfect. All right.
Yes.
You've already been placed under oath. What would you like to tell me?
The report is not correct. I mean, okay, so the report isn't correct. That's not kind of how I explained it to them.
Okay. Stop moving the phone around. Just place it in front of your face and keep it that way. Thank you.
Okay. It's correct, but I don't feel threatened by Keaton or harmed or anything. We was just, both of us were emotional. And I feel like I was more at fault as he was. Like, I didn't really, we were going through something, and both of us like frustrated or whatever, and it got out of hand. But like I said, it was the first time they explained it wrong, and yes, I still want contact with him and stuff. And he been, after the incident happened, he came to see Casey and stuff. We like been getting along and stuff. I didn't want to press charges, or I didn't want to press charges. I told him that I don't know what happened, but like, yeah, we've been okay. It was just emotional.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Cook, please mute your screen, Mr. Hammonds.
Okay. Your Honor, that reflects what Ms. Hammonds told me a little earlier. We would be looking to allow no further violent contact and a signature bond level 2 as recommended by pretrial services.
All right. Does he share the same address, Abner Terrace?
Yes, Your Honor.
Bond's going to be set at 3,500. It is going to be a signature bond through pretrial services level 2, which means, Mr. Gordon, you will report to pretrial services twice a month in person. While you are out on a signature bond, you shall have no further contact with Michaela Hammonds, though I will allow a third-party transfer for you to see the child that you share with her. In other words, if you want to see the child that you share with her, there's got to be a third party who comes and picks up and drops off the child. You yourself cannot return to the location to pick up or drop off the child. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You are to have no contact with Michaela Hammonds. That means stay 200 yards away from her and do not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. Although Ms. Hammonds believes that she doesn't want to press charges, that decision is not with her. It is exclusively with the prosecutor's office. So they make the decision based on the totality of the circumstances, whether they want to pursue the case or not. And presently, they want to pursue the case. You are not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and not possess and own any firearms. If you own any firearms, they have to be surrendered to the police for destruction. While you are out on a signature bond, you will enroll and complete a domestic violence intervention program. You must enroll in that program within 60 days of being released. So that means by your, I remember 1, 2, 3, 4, by your 6th visit with pretrial, you must show proof that you have enrolled in that program. And then every month that you report, you will show proof that you are attending those classes. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. This is a condition of your bond and not an adjudication of guilt of innocence. Your next court date will be sent to your new mailing address. So you need to update us with a new mailing address within 30 days of being released. You may return to Abner Terrace location one time only with a police officer to get your personal items. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Position.
Yeah.
Position number 7.
Carlos Hill is accused of battery, family violence from June 21st, 2022, case number 24 CR 1225A. Mr. Hill, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors, please?
Yes, 7 arrest cycles beginning in 2010. There appeared to be a 2021 misdemeanor conviction for battery, family violence, and battery against a female who is pregnant, and that was out of Cobb County. And a 2018 misdemeanor conviction for driving while license suspended, 2011 misdemeanor for DUI. The last arrest was in December of 2019 for an FTA, and that was in Cobb County. It does appear that the defendant has a hold in Marietta with the warrant date of April of 2022. The defendant meets the criteria for level 1.
Mr. Graham, have you confirmed the 2021 conviction for battery, family violence?
Yes, Your Honor, we have confirmed that it came maybe an hour or so before court, so our office is seeking to upgrade this charge to a felony matter.
So we'll submit a transfer order after court, Your Honor, or shortly. We just got the conviction a few minutes before court started.
Okay, thank you. And what's the state's recommendation presently?
State's recommendation for this case, Your Honor, did take place on June 21st of 2022. The domestic dispute between Mr. Hill and Ebony Walker. Verbal altercation became physical when he grabbed her by the neck and shirt. He headbutted her and slapped her 3 times in the face. We've been in contact with the victim. She says they're no longer in a relationship. They don't live together. They have no children. Their incident location was her address, but she no longer lives there. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She stated nothing like this has happened before. They have not been in communication since the incident, and she's okay with continuing no contact. As a result, Your Honor, the state is recommending a $5,000 surety bond. Still no further contact with Ebony Walker. Stay away from Ms. Walker's current residence, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. And if we can sound for Miss Ebony Walker, Your Honor, in accordance with Marcy's law.
Ebony Walker, are you present? All right, Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, we have no problem with the stay away and no further contact. I don't believe there's been any contact in over 2 years. This again is the incident date was almost 2 years ago. We would be looking at a bond to the extent it really matters now, a signature bond level 3.
Yes, you're correct. The incident date is June 21st, 2022. Ms. Washington, when was that conviction date from 2021?
Bear with me one moment. I don't have the exact date. I'll have to pull it up.
Or if Mr. Graham, if you just got that information. And while we're waiting on the information, Mr. Cook, your Russian interpreter is not going to be available, might be available tomorrow.
Oh, we'll have to reset it. I don't think he speaks at all. It's
Okay.
the English language. Thank you.
Is that position 8, Alexander Leonov?
Yes, that's position A.
All right, we're gonna have to reset that to March 16th at 2 p.m. and request the, is that the only language she speaks, Russian or any other language? French, German?
I was not able to get past, he needs an interpreter. He spoke, well, we were not able to communicate at all. Just,
All right.
I just
Thank you.
never, he just said Russian and
Okay,
I have the information, Your Honor.
yes, ma'am.
It appears that the arrest date was February 22nd of 2019. The disposition was listed as 2021.
Okay, and then this incident 2022, all right? On the battery family violence for Mr. Hill is 2,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Ebony Walker to stay 200 yards away from wherever she happens to be and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. Upon making bond, he shall be released only to the Cobb County Hold. So Cobb County will have to come pick him up to address the matter in Marietta. Next court date will be March 28th. Thank you. All right, Deputy, if you have Alexander Leonov.
He's already taking him back.
Okay, he needs to know he needs to be addressed tomorrow at 2. Okay, thank you. Next case.
Number 9.
This is Antoine McKnight, accused of theft by taking from December 2nd, 2023. Accusation 24 CR 1209G. Mr. McKnight, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Ms. Washington?
4 prior arrest cycles with multi-state interaction in Florida. There are no felony convictions listed or any misdemeanor convictions listed. It does appear that the last arrest was from February 12th of this year for a DUI, and that was in Fulton County. That case appears to be open. The defendant does meet the criteria for UJR jail.
All right, thank you. Mr. Grant?
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident took place December 2nd, 2023. Antoine McKnight was working for Buckhead Parking Enforcement when he allowed 4 drivers who had been booted to pay him $250 in cash for the boots to be removed. The actual fee should be $500. He was reported by one of the drivers. Mr. McKnight did not turn over the cash that he collected to the business. Our office spoke with the co-owner of the business, LaShonda Page. She informed us that Mr. McKnight was an employee of the company, that he did turn his receipts for that day, but never turned in the cash, that she had texted asking for the money back, but he never responded. He's since been terminated. She does want him to repay the money, and she wants no contact and for him to stay away from the business location. The state is requesting a signature bond through pretrial services, no further contact with LaShonda Page, stay away from the Buckhead Parking Enforcement. It's at 4788 Jonesboro Road in Union City. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. And if we can sound for Miss Page in accordance with Marcy's law this time, Your Honor.
LaShonda Page? I think she's just the principal for the company, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Cook, the bond's gonna be set at $2,000. It's a signature bond through the jail. Mr. McKnight must update us with any changes in his mailing address. He is to stay away from the businesses known as Buckhead Parking Enforcement and have no contact with LaShonda Page. And I think the company can also address this matter through a civil action. Mr. McKnight, this is an active criminal case against you. Please be sure that you report to court when summoned. Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
that is Mr. Tai's case.
I thought I was addressing Antoine McKnight.
No, it's Public Defender Hoda Atayi's case.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Miss Atai. Oh, okay, sorry about that. Yes,
I'm-
any objection to that bond?
No objections. I would like to state for the record that my client does deny the allegations.
Understood. Thank you. Okay, is there Rahim Major or next case, Deputy?
Position Chair.
Rahim Rashad Majors accused of criminal trespass from March 14th, 2024, case 24 CR 1207F. Mr. Major, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Hoda Atai, who's appearing separately, and you should see her on the screen. Ms. Washington, any priors?
No prior history. The defendant meets the criteria for UJR jail.
All right. Mr. Graham, any recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident involved Mr. Major riding a MARTA train with an active suspension, which is in place until the 21st of this month. The state is recommending a signature bond through the jail. Stay away from all MARTA in compliance with any and all active suspensions.
Yeah. Bond set at 500 is a signature bond through the jail. Stay away from all MARTA property until any suspension notices have been lifted. So currently, your previous suspension was until March 21st. Based on this new arrest, I don't know, I think it may have been extended. So you cannot return to any MARTA property, buses, train stations, until all suspensions have been resolved. Your next court date will be sent to you at your current address. Please be sure that you have provided us with a good mailing address. Thank you.
Position 11.
Mr. Robert McGee is accused of battery, family violence from February 14th, 2024, and the case number is 24 CR 1208J. Mr. McGee, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Hoda Atay. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, 6 prior arrests, Your Honor. There is a 2022 misdemeanor conviction for simple battery and disorderly conduct. The defendant appears to currently still be serving 12 months on probation for that case. There's also a 2023 arrest for aggravated battery and 2 counts of battery family violence, and that was in Fulton County. That case appears to be open. It's 23 CP 220554. And also the last arrest was December 28th of 2023 in Fulton County for purchase, possession, or sale of marijuana, possession of a Schedule 1 or 2 controlled substance, possession of cocaine with intent to distribute, and possession of drug-related objects. That case number is 23 CP 224-522, and it does appear that the defendant is on pretrial for that matter, and we would like to surrender that bond. The defendant also has another open case in Fulton County. That case number is 24 SC 000172 for possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, possession of a firearm, pedestrian in a roadway, and obstruction of a law enforcement officer. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 3. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Mr. Grant?
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident took place February 14th. Law enforcement responded to a domestic dispute at 565 Wells Street, Southwest Atlanta. Upon arrival, the officer met with Keasia, Keasia, Gist, Gist, who advised that she and the father of her child, Robert McGee, had been in a dispute over child custody over the course of the night. The dispute became physical when Mr. McGee hit her over the head with a pot, poked her in the right eye, and kicked her in the back. There was a witness on the scene who also reported that Miss McGee attempted to choke Miss Gist. The officer did observe bruising to Miss Gist's left eye, and she complained of a burning sensation on her back. Your Honor, at this point, I don't think our office made contact with the victim, but I believe she may be on Zoom. We can sign for her. And then based on the information that we received from True Pretrial Services, Your Honor, and that open 2023 case, the defendant was given a $15,000 surety bond, and it involves the same victim, Miss Gist. So the state is requesting a $3,000 cash bond. No further contact with Keisha Gist. Stay away from the incident location, 565 Wall Street Southwest. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and no firearms while out on bond. And if we can sound from Keisha Gist, in accordance with Marcy's law, Your Honor.
Ms. Gist, if you want to add to the proceedings, you need to unmute.
Yes, I'm so sorry. This whole story is so untrue. And I told the officer that night it wasn't even my kid's father. Like, it's not even my kid's father. So I don't even know how.
I don't know to whom you are talking like that.
I'm not talking smart. I'm not talking smart.
Be quiet. First of all, you sit up straight and you remove that hoodie. You're in a court right now. Now, if you'd like to add anything to the proceedings, you're going to be sworn. Would you like to say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if you have a problem with the assessment of the information that is in the warrant for Mr. McGee's arrest, that is something that you will definitely take up with the Victim Advocates Division. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
My question to you is, are you comfortable with Mr. McGee being back in the same home with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many children does he share with you?
3.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Can I say something though?
Are you going to talk about whether the allegations are true or false?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you need not say anything else. I've already directed you to the Victim Advocates Division.
Okay, thank you.
Please mute your screen. Ms. Atay?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is only 21 years old. He has lived in Georgia all his life. He does deny the allegations as stated in the warrant. I spoke with the complaining witness, and even in the warrant, it states that the witness or the reporting party was Kadisha Reynolds, which is not the victim or the complaining witness in the case. It's her sister. The complaining witness tells me that her sister hates her child's father and gave the wrong name intentionally, but that the actual person in this case who is responsible is her current boyfriend. This incident happened February 14th, 2024, Your Honor. They have not been together for some time. I understand there's some criminal history. I would ask for a signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. And I think a stay away and no further contact is fine. I don't have any objection to that. Nothing further.
All right. Ms. Washington, with regards to the pretrial bond in the felony case, that is something that pretrial has to present to the presiding judge in Superior Court in order to obtain a surrender.
Okay.
All right. But in the meantime, for this particular case, Mr. McGee's bond is going to be set at $10,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, and that's going to be under ISP or level 4. He's to have no further contact with the individual named in the warrant. And give me a moment.
Number 13.
Oh, let me finish with Mr. McGee first.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Who did you say was the other person, Miss Hoda? Miss Atay?
The complaining, Kadisha Reynolds, the sister.
Yeah, and there is a reporting witness.
And Your Honor, my
Yeah.
states the complaining witness stated that she didn't speak with the police other than to tell them after they got the statement from her sister that it was not my client.
Okay, so as I was saying, Mr. McGee has got a $10,000 signature bond for pretrial, and this will be level 4. That means he would have to be the new best friend with pretrial services. He'll be seeing them multiple times during the course of a month. That's providing that his pretrial bond and his felony case is not surrendered. Otherwise, he'll have to make bond from his felony case in order to be released.
Your Honor, so sorry to interrupt, but if he's already on a felony pretrial bond, they're going to submit a bond surrender.
That goes to Superior Court.
Okay, but I'm not sure that makes sense for us to put him back
And
on
I'll
pretrial.
tell you why. I think it's a UJR. So if I'm,
And it's with the same victim, so I
is
just,
it no, that's the problem with the alleged identity of the victim also according to Ms. Atay. So that's where I'm going with this. But if you can tell me if Ms. Washington, is it a UJR or a straight out bond amount?
so I see an aggravated battery with a $25,000 surety bond.
Oh, he's got a surety bond, so he's already made bond in that case.
Right, I think on the other case that you're mentioning, that might have been DWAT, because he's had multiple cases with this same
Yeah.
victim.
So whichever bond that pretrial is seeking to have surrendered, I thought it was a UJR. Is it?
Let me just, let me,
Okay. While you're looking at that, let me finish the conditions of this bond.
okay.
So Mr. McGee, as I was saying, is a $10,000 signature bond to pretrial level 4. No further contact with Kadisha Reynolds. You have to stay 200 yards away from Kadisha Reynolds and not have any contact with her whatsoever, including in person, through the mail, through a third party, and so forth. You have to have no violent contact with Keisha Gist. That means you can communicate with Ms. Gist, but there cannot be any physical or verbal altercations. While you are released on a signature bond, you will enroll in a domestic violence program within 30 days of being released. So while you're reporting to pretrial, you must show proof of enrollment in the domestic violence program and that you are regularly attending classes. You are also to submit yourself to an alcohol and drug evaluation and comply with any treatment requirement. And that's also to be done within 30 days of being released. Now, remember, these are conditions to your bond and nothing to do with the issue of guilt or innocence. You may have contact with the children that you share with Ms. Gist. You are not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons and firearms. Considering the multiple felony cases you have, I'm going to assume that you are smart enough not to own a firearm and make sure that you do not have a firearm in your home or anywhere near you. Any questions, Ms. Atay?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right.
What?
So, Your Honor, to clarify, I'm not showing he's out on a UJR or a pretrial bond. I'm showing that he's out on a $25,000 good bond or a surety bond. So for him to be rearrested with the same victim and then we double back and give him a signature bond when he's already out on a $25,000 surety bond, I mean, that doesn't quite add up to me.
All right. I
I would just
appreciate
ask
your
the court to
objection.
reconsider the signature bond.
Well, I'm going to give Mr. McGee a chance, and if he violates these conditions, well, I guess he'll be back in jail with no bond at all. Thank you.
Number 13.
Can we take this case up at the end?
Let's do number 14.
Thank you. This is State versus Campravius Frank Ponder, accused of giving false information to a law enforcement person from February 16th, 2024. Mr. Ponder, your accusation is 24 CR 1206J. And you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Hoda Atay. Any priors?
Yes, Your Honor. 2 reported arrest cycles beginning in 2021 with multi-state interaction in Georgia and in Alabama. The last arrest was in July of 2023 for driving while licensed while without valid license, and that appears to be open in Manchester, Georgia. There also appears to be another open case in Alabama for domestic violence in the third. And it appears that the defendant does have a warrant in Canton, Georgia, I believe. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if that's correct. For an FTA from October 4th of 2023. And the defendant does meet the criteria for level 2. Nothing further.
All right. Mr. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor. Law enforcement was dispatched to 930 Riverside Road where they met with the son of the homeowner, and the defendant is a landscaper. The son of the homeowner alleged that the landscaping company was trying to defraud his father, so he called the police out of concern. In investigating this dispute, the law enforcement officer asked the defendant for his identity or for his ID. He reported to the officer his name was Kawan Matthews. Upon a search in the database, he was able to confirm that this is not the defendant's name, and he actually has been arrested for doing just exactly what he was doing on that day in question. And he also had active warrants. But to the one count on giving false information, we are asking for a $500 surety bond, a stay away from the incident location, which is 930 Riverside Road, and no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out in bond.
Okay. Ms. Atay?
Your Honor, my client is 25 years old. He is the father of 2 minor children and is expecting his third. He's lived in Georgia all his life. I know he has some criminal history, but the last arrest was traffic. He does have the DV in the third case from 2021. He does, from what I can tell, that would be like a criminal trespass damage to property. He states that he damaged a monitor. He does have the warrant in Canton. That case in Canton is for soliciting without a license. So, Your Honor,
It's Cherokee County, Georgia. It's a Cherokee County hold.
Okay, but I think you said it was Canton. Yes. And that's for soliciting without a permit. Your Honor, my client works hard. He basically is a landscaper, and part of the work that he does is going door to door selling pine straw. As the warrant states, this officer was there investigating a civil matter, and my client's charged here with giving false information. He does deny the allegations. He was arrested on February 18th in Talbot County, and I did confirm that with the Talbot County sheriffs. And so that was a month ago, and he was picked up by Fulton County for this warrant yesterday. I know the state has asked for a $500 surety bond. I would ask for a signature bond through the jail, Your Honor, or I guess, yeah, through the jail. I mean, he has to be released to the Cherokee County hold for, knocking on doors, trying to sell pine straw.
Well, he has to be released, but he doesn't have to be released with a signature bond. And my concern is he was already wanted, it sounds like, out of 2 jurisdictions on an FTA. So that speaks to his likelihood or the lack thereof of him coming back to court for this case. So I feel like a $500 surety bond is more than reasonable. And the reason why the police were called in this case, because he was soliciting without a license and trying to defraud an elderly homeowner. So it's all kind of connected. It's all
Any of them are giving false information, not soliciting or anything. In this case,
it's all connected if you read the warrant.
Well, where are the charges, though?
Okay.
He's only.
Well, the state just asked for a $500 surety. We feel like that's reasonable.
All right. If I can break it edgewise into this conversation, riveting as it may be, the bond is set at $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Once he's interviewed by pretrial, he shall report to, he shall be only surrendered to the Cherokee County hold. Once that hold is resolved, then he must report to pretrial once a month. And if he gets arrested again for anything else, this $2,000 bond, signature bond, will disappear. Mr. Ponder, you need to avoid getting arrested again, because now if you get arrested again, this $2,000 signature bond will be surrendered and converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond. Make sure you report to court when summoned, maintain a current address with the courts at all times, and you're to stay away from the subdivision or the home of the alleged victim. Do you have that information, Mr. Walker?
Yes, the address is, I thought I read it on the record, I'm sorry, 930 Riverside Road.
You're to stay 200 yards away from that location, 930 Riverside Road is that in Fulton County?
Yes, sure. Yes,
All
yes.
right. And please be mindful that if you're seen in that location within 200 yards, that would also be grounds to arrest you. Thank you.
And what level, Your Honor?
One. And this one, Miss Washington, is in person, not email.
Okay.
Your Honor, is there a way that he can report in person? I mean, I don't know how they report to pretrial services, but he lives in Butler County, 3 hours.
Well, I'm sure pretrial services will be doing a show and tell very soon, but I've been told that they do it by email or via in person if directed by the court. And given Mr. Ponder's other open cases, I'm going to require him to report in person. Otherwise, as you've heard on all the other prior cases, some of which I've indicated level 1 email. Okay, sorry, Mr. Who do we have in courtroom 2, please? Is that Devontae Steed?
Yes, 15.
All right. Mr. Devontae Cantrell Steed is case 24 CR 1212A, alleged with simple battery family violence from March 14th, 2024. Mr. Steed, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Atay. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, 2 prior adult arrest cycles beginning in 2018. There was a 2020 felony conviction for possession of a firearm during the commission or attempt burglary in the first and theft by receiving stolen property. The last arrest was May of 2023 for a parole violation, and that was in Richmond County, Georgia. It does appear that the defendant is on probation regarding that felony conviction and currently serving 5 years on probation. It does appear that there is also a hold regarding the probation violation in Richmond County. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 2, nothing further.
Yeah, Sean, in this case, law enforcement was dispatched to a dispute call at 1815 MOK Drive, which is a gas station. I just note for the court that it's not the residents that will be asking us to stay away from.
Yes.
But the law enforcement was dispatched to the gas station. They met the victim, Miss Uniqua Arrington. She advised that her and her partner / child's father were in a disagreement over her cell phone. Things became physical where he slapped her across the face and punched her in the stomach. They took the victim back to her address, which is 1811 Penelope Road. That's the address that she shares with the defendant. The door was locked, but they did see the 2 children inside on the couch, and they did see the defendant hiding in the kitchen. When the officer called out to the defendant, he did attempt to run. The officer was able to apprehend the defendant. Upon the investigation, it was determined that the defendant was the sole and primary aggressor. A warrant for simple battery family violence was taken out. They do share a child together and live together. The state is asking for a $2,000 surety bond, a stay away from the incident location, 1811 Penelope Road. No contact with the victim, Miss Uniqua Arrington. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And I'm not sure if Miss Arrington is on the line, but we would sound for. I don't think. Oh yeah, I do see you, Arrington. So we would sound for.
All right. Penelope Arrington.
No, Penelope Road is Uniqua.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm just sorry about that.
I know that's a mouthful.
You're right. Sorry about that. Yes, Miss Arrington. And that was Shaniqua Arrington? What's that?
Uniqua about
Uniqua. Okay. All right. Miss Arrington, you need to direct that phone so we can see your face. And did you want to add to these proceedings?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then you may mute your screen. Thank you. All right, Ms. Atay.
Your Honor, my client is 23 years old. He is the father of 1 minor child. He has lived in Georgia all his life. He denies the allegations in the warrant. The warrant states that the complaining witness did not want to cooperate or pursue legal charges. She tells me that she does want to have contact with him, and she would be okay with him returning to the home. Your Honor, my client is gainfully employed. He does work as a landscaper to provide for his child. I understand there is some criminal history, but he's only 23 years old. And I think that the recent May 2023 was a parole violation from a conviction when he was 19 years old.
Mhm.
I would ask for a signature bond through pretrial services. And the complaining witness has stated she's fine with him returning to the home and having contact, but I'll leave that up to your discretion. Nothing further.
Your Honor, while the warrant does state that, it also states that she ran out of the home and down the street to the gas station out of fear of her safety.
Yes,
So-
I did read that part. I mean, the whole allegation seemed to be rather disturbing.
Yeah.
On the simple battery family violence, your bond is a $2,000 surety. Next court date is March 28th. No further contact with Uniqua Arrington. No further contact with her children. If they happen to be your children as well, then you can file a separate legitimation action to obtain a court order establishing joint custody and visitation. You're to stay 200 yards away from Miss Arrington and the children. If they live at 1811 Penelope Road, Northwest Atlanta, you're not allowed to return to that location. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and to update the court with your current mailing address within 30 days of being released. Thank you.
Number 16, Williams.
And I don't want to, Mr. Walker, does Mr. Steed have a parole hold? I think that's what Ms. Washington reported.
Yes, that's my understanding, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Champion, on Mr. Steed, in the event that he makes bond, it will be a release to the parole hold only. Thank you. Alex Williams is accused of battery family violence from March 14th, 2024. Mr. Williams, you've been accused under case number 24 CR 1215C. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. There were 20 total arrest cycle with multi-state interaction in Indiana, Illinois, and Minnesota. There was a 2007 disorderly conduct, a 2009 felony conviction for sale of drugs, a 2013 misdemeanor conviction for domestic assault, a 2014 misdemeanor conviction for domestic assault, a 2015 felony conviction for robbery, a 2015 misdemeanor conviction for damage to property in the fourth, a 2016 felony conviction for aggravated robbery. There are also 2 arrests for domestic assaults that were dismissed. The defendant's last arrest was February of 2024 for driving while license suspended. It does appear that the defendant is currently on probation in Ramsey County, Minnesota, from a 2008 possession of drug charge. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 3. Nothing further.
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, law enforcement was dispatched to the Budgetel Inn and Suites located on 4120 Fulton Industrial Boulevard due to a dispute call at room 348. They went to the room. The room was empty with the door open. However, the room had been torn apart and in apparent disarray. And walking back towards the front desk, they ran across the victim, Miss April Parham. She had scratches on her face and I believe her neck. When they asked her what happened, if she was staying in the room, she said she was, and she had an argument or disagreement with her husband, who was the defendant. She did advise that her injuries were due to bed bugs. However, According to the officer, those injuries that were apparent were not consistent with bed bug bites. And upon their investigation, it was determined that the defendant was the sole and primary aggressor. Due to the defendant's history, we are asking for a $3,000 surety bond, no contact with the victim, Ms. April Parham. We weren't able to make contact with the victim, but out of abundance of caution, we will ask for a stay away from that Budgetel Inn and Suites, 4120 Fort Industrial. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out of bounds.
April Parham, if you on mute on Zoom, you can start your video and unmute if you want to say anything. I have a Samsung SM, and I have a Paige Yang, but
That's
I don't
a
see anybody else.
different case.
Okay. All right, Ms. Kim.
Yes, Your Honor. My client, Mr. Williams, he is 37 years old and he was born in Illinois, and they recently moved together to Georgia about 2 months ago. My client has a job at Zaxby. He is a cook there, and they are taking care of, they don't have a child together. However, my client has 6 children and 5 of them are minors. So he has to make income to financially support 5 minor children, Your Honor. He successfully graduated from high school, and yeah, he has been so he believes that Miss April Pahal is not afraid of him. However, he's willing to stay away and have no further contact with her, as long as if he can get signature on bond through pre-trial, even though it is level 3, he willing to get that, Your Honor.
All right. Bond is set at 2,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with April Parham, to stay away from the Budgetel Hotel Inn at 120 Fulton Industrial Boulevard. He may return to that location one time only with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings. No illegal drugs, alcohol, and no weapons. Next court date is March 28th. Thank you.
Your Honor.
Ricky Wilson. Unmute, please.
Ma'am, can
I strongly recommend you not to say anything, but you have a right to remain silent. Your Honor, actually, he wants to emphasize that 2008 case from Minnesota about the probation violation. He says that there is no more probation.
Oh, no, that's not my concern. That's not my concern. Number one, he's a multi-state offender. Number two, I ran out of space writing out all his convictions from 2007, 9, 13, 14, 15, 16. I mean, it's just non-stop.
Yeah, ma'am.
And you don't qualify for a signature bond. Welcome to Georgia.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have
before we begin with this gentleman's case, may I inquire about Quentin Dennis, position 2?
Waiver, position 2 and position number 17, waive their appearance.
All right.
Quentin Dennis' wife?
Yeah.
When did you do that?
And Miss